Hello dear students, welcome to the platform of Teacher Educator. Today, let us learn about a very important activity of your internship, that is preparation of unit test. At the beginning of internship, each student teacher is allotted at least one teaching unit in each of the pedagogy subjects. The trainee is expected to plan teaching learning experiences for the entire unit using a unit plan. He makes a unit plan by distributing the teaching unit into smaller subunits, thereby leading to prepare lesson plans for each of the subunits. So now, these lesson plans become the foundation of your internship. Your each lesson presentation of 40 minutes is targeted to achieve some of the instructional objectives written in the beginning of the lesson plan. Dear students, we have learnt that teaching and testing go together. That is why even in the 40 minutes class, while providing learning experiences, you evaluate students' learning through observation, questions and other testing activities which surely give you some idea about learning experiences of the students. But only that may not provide the complete or holistic evidence of students' learning. Therefore, golden rule is to conduct a test at the end of a teaching unit, which is called as the achievement test or unit test. Now, let me tell you the meaning of achievement test. It is a test which is designed to measure the attainment of learners after a period of training or teaching. Here, specific focus is on a set of predetermined objectives. Meaning is, the teacher, through an achievement test, tries to understand the degree to which the instructional objectives have been attained. Not only that, this test also helps a teacher to get a feedback on what his pupils have achieved as a result of his teaching. And a teacher through this unit test indirectly assesses his or her own achievement as a teacher. Now, let us know about the steps of conducting an achievement test. These are planning, that is designing of the test, editing, reviewing, administration of the test, coding and interpretation of data received after conducting the test. So, let's move towards the first step, that is planning. To start with, first you need to prepare a design of the test including these dimensions. The very first dimension is the selection of subunits and objectives, which is done during the preparation of unit design. Your unit design will give you an idea about the objectives to be tested in each of the subunits. Now, the second dimension for the design of the test is weightage to the objectives. Dear students, each subject has a different set of objectives. In general, for science, social science and mathematics, the objectives are knowledge, understanding, application and skill. Whereas for languages, the objectives are knowledge, comprehension, expression and appreciation or skill. Here your major task is to decide the relative weightage to each of these objectives, which can be decided according to the significance of each objective in the learning of that particular subject. Many times this weightage is decided by your teacher educators. Now, let us learn the same with an example. Here, this table indicates 20% weightage to knowledge, 36% to understanding, 28% application and 16% weightage to appreciation or skill development. Now, once percentage is decided, you can get to know the marks by multiplying the total marks of the test to the required percentage dividing by 100. Here you can see the total marks are 25 and the required percentage for knowledge objective is 20. So, 25 multiplied by 20 divided by 100, you get 5 marks. Accordingly, you can decide the number of questions based on the marks. The same can be applied for the other objectives. So once the objectives are decided, we'll move towards the next dimension, that is weightage to the content in the test paper. Here, you can give weightage to the subunits on the basis of specifications or objectives achieved through it. Weightage to the content depends on the number and significance of teaching points in that particular subunit. Now, let us move towards the next aspect or dimension, that is weightage to the types or forms of questions. Dear students, you can prepare different type of questions like multiple choice questions, very short answer, and essay type questions in your test paper. The specification in unit plan or in the lesson plan will give you an idea of what forms of the questions would be appropriate to test particular type of the learning outcome. For an example, you have an objective in your lesson plan, that is pupil recalls the name. For this kind of the objective, multiple choice question would be appropriate. Next example is pupil tells the meaning and antonym. So for such kind of the learning outcome, it would preferably, if you prepare a very short answer type question, it would be appropriate, as for meaning half mark can be credited and for antonym another half can be given. Next example is pupils list events and processes. For that, short answer type question can be given. Now, last example is that pupil compose an autobiographical note under the given headings of introduction, development and conclusion. So, for this type of the question, you need to give, for this kind of objective, you need to give an essay type of the question. Right, I think you have got an idea now what kind of the questions can be prepared for specific objectives. So, once you have decided about these three dimensions, that is weightage to the objectives, content and type of the questions, based on these three dimensions, you need to prepare a blueprint of the test, which should reflect these weightages decided in the design. Your blueprint helps you in deciding the scope of the test, and it also gives you an assurance that your test will measure learning outcomes and course content in a balanced manner. So now let's further learn about it through a sample blueprint. Here you see a blueprint which is prepared based on these three dimensions. So in the horizontal rows, you see the subunits or content, and the objectives and types of questions are presented in the vertical columns. As per the weightage to forms of questions, I have taken essay type, very short answer type, and MCQs. In the distribution, the numbers outside the brackets indicate questions or items, and numbers inside the brackets indicate the marks. Now, all the 15 questions of 25 marks are distributed over different objectives and subunits in order to get the decided weightage. So if you see the split of marks, here from subunit 1, there is one MCQ of 1 mark under the category of knowledge, understanding and application, which adds up to 3 questions of 3 marks. From subunit 2, under knowledge and understanding, there is one MCQ of 1 mark and one VSA of 2 marks under comprehension. So this makes the total to 3 questions of 4 marks. In the next subunit, there is one MCQ from knowledge and one VSA from expression, which adds up to 2 questions of 3 marks. Dear students, similarly, the questions of other subunits under different objectives are distributed, which finally adds up to 15 questions of 25 marks. So, on the basis of blueprint, you might have got a rough or general idea about the distributions of 3 dimensions in the blueprint. Now, let's move towards the next dimension, that is weightage to the difficulty level. A class has 3 types of students: below average, average and above average. So, your test should provide opportunity to the bright, mediocre and the weak students. That is why you need to include easy, average and difficult questions, and criteria for this kind of inclusion can be decided by the student teacher in consultation with the teacher educator. So, for teacher made test, this is quite sufficient, or you can have the criteria of 20, 60 and 20%, where 20% easy questions, 60% average questions and 20% difficult questions can be prepared. So accordingly, the marks will come out as 5, 15 and 5 respectively for a question paper of 25 marks. In the stage of planning, the last point is scheme of options. In a question paper, two types of options can be given, namely internal and external. In the internal options, option is given within a question, whereas in the external options, you can give overall, section-wise and alternate option. Dear students, we need to remember that in unit test, options should not be given. Reason is that unit test focuses on the complete evaluation of the achievement of objectives, content and learning experiences. If options are given, these conditions may not be fulfilled. At the same time, it is difficult to set alternates for a teacher also. Sometimes students may not prepare for some portions knowingly due to their lack of interest for some of the topics. After planning, the second step is editing, that is preparation of question paper. First, you need to prepare the test items according to the blueprint. Then all the questions are to be grouped under essay, short answer type, VSA and MCQs. Then, item in each sections can be arranged in an increasing difficulty order. Now, you need to write general and specific instructions to the examinees. Then decide the sections in the question paper, that is part A, B, C and D. After that, you need to draft the question paper. Finally, prepare marking scheme and scoring key, where you need to mention item-wise responses in terms of their number in the question paper. For question-wise analysis, you need to present all the questions of question paper in a table like this. As you can see, question 1 comes under knowledge objective. Its specification is recognized. This belongs to subunit Mauritius. It is a MCQ question. It stands for 1 mark and the estimated difficulty level of this question is easy. So likewise, you can prepare the question-wise analysis for all the questions of your question paper. Now, once your question paper is ready, you need to administer it following all the aesthetics of conducting test. The last step in unit test conduction is coding and interpretation. So, for this step, first is correct the test papers and present the scores in a mark list. Prepare item analysis table by entering each student's correct or incorrect responses for each question. Analyze the data based on simple statistical methods like mean, median and mode. Later, based on the results, present interpretation mentioning the difficulty level of the question paper. Then, give a reasonable conclusion which includes the subject, class, unit, summary of the weightage and finally performance of the students. Dear students, then lastly you should give your reflection about the activity of unit test, mentioning your learning gaps and constructive suggestions for further improvement for quality training of the student teachers. So, dear students, I hope you have learned about the major theoretical aspects of unit test. My next video gives a practical idea about unit test format and its other aspects. So thank you. Happy learning.